Welcome back to another episode of Competitive Edge here on the Esports Bet channel. Remember to go ahead and subscribe here. You'll get Competitive Edge for League of Legends and for Counter-Strike. Maui Snake and Thorin doing that one these days. So anytime there's big matches coming up, you can expect that. Not a lot of action this week, guys. LPL is still on hiatus, and the couple of games that are happening early next week are not too tantalizing. LCS is off. LCK, however, coming back, and we have one match of LEC that we know of right now because obviously we have to play the first one because it's a tournament, then it'll get into, the losers bracket finals and then the grand finals. So if we see some angles there, be sure to follow us on Twitter so that we can actually put those out as the kind of LEC matches progress over the weekend. In the meantime, though, we've gotten what value I think we can for you guys here. And we'll be going over some predictions that we're going to make. But first off, as usual, we will do a recap of our last week, which was kind of tragic, Thorin. It was kind of tragic. We had a decent week one, week two, not so much. As we look at some of these predictions, you're going to see, as I pull this up here, hold up, that it was a bit rough for us. So as you can see, we tried to take Immortals, who we really believed in after some of their other wins, but making predictions in these best of ones in LCS has been very difficult because of the number of upsets. We unfortunately, Thorin, took the wrong Shopify Rebellion match because, of course, they beat FlyQuest, which was the actual bigger upset, but couldn't actually take down Team Liquid. Then we tried to predict NRG to upset Cloud9. That also didn't happen. We did get G2 Esports
one of the few teams Cloud9 can beat, apparently. So
yeah, apparently.
We can't get a win on that one, can we, at all?
Apparently, Shopify can only beat the best teams in the league,
exactly.
And not the opponents that you think they'd be able to beat, of course. G2, we did actually take them at a handicap of minus 1.5 to get slightly better odds at 1.651. So we did pick up some money on that one. And we did take Heretics. Now, you and I were split on this one. On SI, like I took the SK side, but we made the official prediction here onto Team Heretics, and they looked grim. Let's just put it that way.
In the end, both teams suck anyway, so splitting hairs at this point. But sadly, yes, I did get the wrong side of that one.
So unfortunately, a lot of red this last week, guys. But hopefully, we'll pick some different teams this week and do a little bit better. So first up, we have Guangdong Freaks versus FearX. I'm actually shocked that we're getting these kind of odds from Guangdong, given their recent run.
High, it's crazy, isn't it? Isn't that bonkers? I think the FearX team is a terrible squad, man. I can't even believe they're like. I would think they would be like 2.5 or something crazy.
Yes, I think that getting Guangdong has been quite a legit team. Remember, maybe we forgive the KT, the KT loss because, look, they were just coming in with Bull, right? Maybe it wasn't known. There was a lot of weird shenanigans that were going on in that draft with 880 carry bans and Deft picking away the Draven. They were clearly trying to make him uncomfortable because it was his LCK debut. Totally didn't work, by the way. And he's proven that he's not just a one trick. He's worked in challengers with Andal in the past. Andal looks a lot better. Cuz is low-key making a case for MVP of LCK for himself right now. Not even joking how hard this guy
killed it.
How hard this guy is carrying this team. He may not be on one of the top 3 rosters, but he is doing an insane amount of work. Dudu has always been solid. The real question here has been Bulldog, but Bulldog has had some decent games. He's a little bit shaky in terms of his positioning. But if we're actually talking about Guangdong's weaknesses, yeah, they're rookies. Sometimes they overextend on the map and they get punished. Sometimes we actually see, sometimes Bull goes a little bit over aggressive. But Cuz and Dudu bailed this team out quite a bit, and Cuz's performance has been exemplary, and he's even doing it on non-Cuz champions like Poppy. So it's not just that he is a Viego and Sejuani two-trick. So for me, Willer is a good jungler as well. And he's had more of the kind of Willer carry jungle performances on like Brand and Wukong and some of these pickups. But I think FearX is just a substantially worse team than Kwangdong. I think like it's hard to say Kwangdong isn't the fourth best team at minimum in LCK right now with the way they performed.
No, I mean, I say I'm with you. The first shock here is how is FearX's odds so low down? Like they're just a really bad side. Like they actually are one of the ones where it's like, what hope does anyone have for this group of players? Whereas, as you say, Guangdong Freaks are like the revelation of the LCK this split. Like they're way better than they had any business being.
Yeah, and it's with the roster move. So I don't really see like FearX is a team that has been beating on kind of some of the bottom feeders and like feels like they might be on the cusp of like playoff performances. But Kwangdong has objectively been playing significantly more cohesive teamwork and League of Legends. I find it's really surprising that we can get Kwangdong at these odds. And I think as time goes on, Kwangdong is going to just become more and more of a favorite. So I think we take Kwangdong here at 1,000, considering it's almost 1.7. And getting a favorite this big at 1.7, I think feels super good. Also, guys, we still have the Chinese New Year's promotion going on. All you have to do is head over to the promotion tab on the left side of your screen, and you can see the red envelope frenzy right here. Remember that you can put down $100 up to $100 USDT, and you will receive an extra $100 USDT, 100,000 esports coin to predict for free on the site, and you can transfer that into other cryptocurrencies, as well as one risk-free bonus bet up to $50 USDT on any League of Legends Spring Tier 1 game. That's in the major regions, obviously. So LCK, LPL, LEC, or LCS. All you have to do is click that promotion, click contact customer support. They'll talk you through everything in the terms of conditions and let you know how you can place that risk-free first bet. So head on over right now for new users or returning ones. For absolutely everybody, great deal for the next few weeks.
Like, if people don't know, the only reason FearX is so high in the tables is because they played bad teams. Like, their best win is against DRX, who's nobody. Like, that's a budget roster this year. Like, the problem is they should obviously, like, they should lose to Kwangdong and then all the top teams. So I actually think where FearX now is, they're going to be like the 6th or 7th team, but that's about it. That's about it. Not going to be better than that. So as you say, they can maybe grab the last playoff spot. It's not possible. But they're not. The difference is Kwangdong actually, they even look like they could win more games than they do, mate. They could actually mix it up.
Yes. Yeah. Look, I think this team is definitely on the up and up, and like the mid lane is kind of their weakness right now, but it's not even that big of a glaring weakness. And Bulldog has put on some really good games. He just hasn't had the consistency. So we're still waiting to see if he has the upside. I mean, you put a good mid laner into this roster and they would be very, very solid, like a contender for top 3, probably able to take out, potentially able to take out Hanwha, which is saying something. Moving over to LEC, we have Fnatic at 1.378, Mad Lions at 2.7. And I know we think Fnatic's going to win this one, but aren't the odds just too good that you to not take Mad Lions here at 2.7?
I mean, first of all, the Fnatic odds are too low. So I actually feel like, first of all, you can't rely on them. They can throw games. But no, even though I'm with you, like if you actually asked me, I'm not picking Mad Lions to win this one. But 2.7 is really high up, though. And especially, I'll also say, it's not like this team, unless they play G2, I actually think they'll take a game in any series off any team. Like, I don't think they would just get completely. There's no way they're getting 3-0'd, in my opinion. Like, Fnatic's going to give them games. So I think this is actually like, it's a messy enough prospect of a series. I think it's worth taking the underdog, yeah. Especially if we just do like a reasonable size bet. Why not?
Yeah, we will go lower for this one because, again, we don't expect it to come to fruition. Like, it's also that it's a best of 5 Thorin, which makes me even more wary because obviously like that makes it very, very difficult to kind of take odds here. But I think we can go with the 2 point. Here's a question for you. Do you go with the Fnatic minus 1.5 thinking that Fnatic wins, that maybe Mad Lions takes a game here? But it's only 1.8. So I think you go with the 2.7 like series win.
Yeah, I think overall you just do well. Like as you say, when are you ever going to get the odds like this from a team that like it's not impossible they can win the series? So yeah, I think you do the underdog bet. Let's do the underdog one.
All right, 250 onto this one.
At
Just a
least because here's
flyer.
the other reason why. Because I'm also scared that it might be 3-2 Fnatic. So I don't trust them enough to close out. They could easily go all the games and still win. Just fluky though.
All right, the rest of our ones this week are from LCK. Probably the most hype matchup this week is GenG versus Hanwha Life. This is obviously going to be a rematch of the GenG players from last season who have gone up or are going up against like their former roster, like former teammate in Chovy. So it's Peanut, Doran, and Delight in the matchup against Chovy and Pays, which is fun. And there's going to be a lot of talk about rivalry here. The thing is like GenG's at 1.5. Those are great odds, I think, for GenG here. Sure, they're not the highest, but when you consider Zeka's recent performance versus Canyon's recent performance, GenG has struggled sometimes in late game macro, but they've had surprisingly efficient early games, especially with Canyon. Okay, maybe like the Pays Life laning phase hasn't been going the best, which you could be concerned about with Viper and Delight. But the thing is that the mid diff is so big here. Like, it is so big. And like also in top lane, Keen versus Doran, top side of the map just feels so much better overall for GenG than it does for Hanwha.
I'm actually shocked that the Hanwha Life odds are so low. I also thought, like, for me, Hanwha Life's been a team that after, like, week one, it's been kind of like diminishing returns. Like, I thought this team would actually be better. I actually hoped that it could get it together and kind of be like everyone plays near peak league and suddenly they're in the mix with GenG and T1. They're not. They're like a clear step below. And the worst part is, like, what has GenG done wrong that their odds are this level? Like, I would think this would be like
They're
a
undefeated.
1.3 minute. It wouldn't be worth betting. Like, they've done nothing wrong whatsoever. They just look great. Like, right now, there's the problem. There is a world Hanwha Life can win this, but I've yet to see what it would be. Like, I've never seen them do what they would need to do. So I don't buy it. I think GenG wins this all day long. This is one of the rare times you get to take the favourite, potentially, by the way, the best team in the world, at like 1.5 something odds. We'll take that all day, mate. All day long. All day.
Yeah. It would actually be quite a shocking upset. And, you know, it doesn't even feel worth it to bet on Hanwha here because the return just isn't great enough for how lopsided this matchup is. So put 1,000 here onto GenG. I was
I'll
shocked.
even throw this in there, Monty. If you just look where it is, like it'd be one thing if this was like the KT game, the first game after the Lunar split. Like, dude, this is even later in the week when you've all powered up again. Like, no, this looks great for us. I think this is where we're going to just make a nice, easy profit. Yeah, do it.
Yeah. We are going to look, and this might strike you guys as strange. We're going to look at a couple of the Nongshim games. And the reason why we're looking at the Nongshim games is, first off, Nongshim is kind of underrated as a team. Like, so first off, their new mid laner, Call Me, has had some surprisingly decent performances. And Sylvie, their jungler, actually has had some good carry performances as well. They've even been able to kind of like take at least games in series against, you know, teams that are supposed to be better than them. And I know you guys are looking at the Brion odds. And you're like, well, Brion's just a slight underdog. Brion is fucking terrible, guys. Like, they have no identity anymore. I think the odds are only this close, Thorin, because people are remembering Brion from last year as potentially having, you know, a shot at winning games. Because the Brion from last year with Umti could get early game advantages against many teams, even good teams, right? Even teams in the top half of the standings. Sometimes they would just run a really clean early game. Of course, it was their shot calling and macro and like stupid decisions later that would cause their leads to fall apart. They would never actually win those series, but they looked competitive in like the first 15 minutes of the game oftentimes. That Brion is dead. Thorin. That Brion is gone. There is no identity on this team anymore. Now we're seeing new players like potentially being subbed into this roster. Like, Morgan has not had any kind of carry performances. He's just off alone, split pushing by himself with Jax this split. This team is so bad. And I don't see like the Lunar New Year break fixing what is wrong with this team. Like, this team is desperately bad. And so even though Nongshim isn't great, there are upsides to Nongshim. And I think it's it is so surprising to me that you can get Nongshim at 1.7 here, because really the difference between every other team in the LCK and Brion is like, there's an enormous gulf. Like, they are clearly the worst team in this league.
I mean, it's like you say, people are forgetting that they've changed almost the entire squad. Like, this just isn't the team from last year. So it's not even like they play, they're just a totally different squad who don't have the players that did those things. So even though the joke is last season, it was Brion that with the sleepers that you could always rely on to be a bit better than the record. Like, actually, if anything, Nongshim have that status now. Like, actually, like, it's actually shocking because you're used to them being a bottom feeder. But yeah, I agree with you. You watch the games, there's something there. Like, they're actually cooking sometimes.
Yeah, Sylvia's had some like really strong games, actually, which is more than we can really say of anybody on Brion at this point in time. So again, 1,000 over to Nongshim to kick off this week with a win. And the other Nongshim one we're going after is actually KT. And the reason is we're just taking a flyer.
Yes. I mean, the odds are insane. Come on, 3.8.
3.8. Look, KT just straight up lost to Kwangdong. And yes, we figured out later that Kwangdong is a better team. Like, we did figure that out. But KT also kind of disrespected their opponents. And look, we know that the Pioshik ceiling is very high, and we know the barrel ceiling can be very high, but the Pioshik and barrel floor is extremely low. And I do not think that Nongshim is going to win this series. But do I think that it is possible as an outside shot with almost 4.0 odds that this is potentially worth it? The answer is yes. Like, just as a flyer. We will do a very small flyer on this one of just 150. But if this one hits, obviously, like, you know, KT is going to, they've already lost some suspicious matches. They will. Here's the thing about KT. I fully expect them to take a big upset win themselves at some point in time this split, but they are also going to lose to some bottom feeders sometimes, and it's just a matter of finding those moments in which they do.
KT is definitely fraud alert, put it that way. Definitely.
That's what I said on Power Spike, is that they're definitely fraud alert team. I have more hope in the consistency of D+, even though D+ has also lost to Kwangdong and kind of looked embarrassing against Hanwha Life in many ways as well. You know, KT's variance is just crazy right now. And until something changes within this roster, I don't think that is actually going to be a factor that shifts for them over the course of this split. So there you go, guys. Obviously not the biggest pool of games to choose from this week, but hopefully you find some good advice in there talking about some of the strengths of these teams. I think especially, I mean, I'm just mind-boggled, Thor, that you can get GenG at 1.5 and Nongshim at 1.7 in these matches. Even Kwangdong at almost 1.7 is really good. So there's, I think, value here on the LCK as everything spins back up. We will be back next week with some more predictions on, I guess it'll just be LPL and LCK next week after LEC and LCS are going to be both on break. So we will see you guys then.